This video takes another look at how Concord or grammatical agreement works in Old English. It revises the rules of Concord and provides further examples of its use. It's the second video in this series. Alright, so let's start with rule number 1. That the subject, noun and the verb agree in number and person. So in our first example, Sawichingas Komon. The Vikings came. Wichingas is the plural Wichinga, and Komon and Tha all agree in that they are all plural. So the subject noun Wichingas agrees with the verb in number and person. So plural in this case for all three. Next example. Thachil radeth tha beach. The child is reading those books. So the child reads those books, or the child is reading those books. And we'll talk about this radeth and its complement radath on the next slide. But notice that child and radeth are singular third person. They agree with each other in that way. So it's the child who reads those books. Tha child radath tha beach. The children read those books, or the children are reading those books. And that's the difference between radath and radeth. One is reading, the other are reading. And chilled here is also plural, a bit like the modern word sheep. It's both singular and plural. This word chilled in Old English is both singular and plural. So, tha chilled radath tha beach. The children read those books, or the children are reading those books. Next, tha chilled raidon tha beach. Or we could say, tha chilled rayordon tha beach. So the children have read those books. Raidon or rayordon are both past tense of read. So have read is how it should be translated, even though we don't have the Old English word for have here. Simply the raidon or rayordon are past tense for read. So tha chilled raidon tha beach. And chilled and raidon, or chilled and rayordon, are plural. So they go together. So the children is how we should interpret it. And we know that that's meant in the plural sense because these are plural here, plural past tense. Next one. Say Atheling feareth. The prince is travelling. And Atheling, noble prince, feareth are both singular third person. So the prince is travelling because there's concord between those two, grammatical agreement between those two words. Tha Athelingas fearath. The princes are travelling. And again, feareth is travelling, fearath are travelling. Tha Athelingas, plural, fearath, plural. So, because there's grammatical concord between those two words, they are connected in meaning. Alright. Earthu se Beowulf, say therewith Berekan Wuna. Are you the Beowulf that struggled? Beowulfs. Are you the Beowulf that struggled against Breca? Now here, Beowulf and Wuna are both singular second person. They agree with each other. And that tells you that grammatically they are connected. So it's the Beowulf who struggled. Say there with Breca. So he struggled against Breca. And again, note, Redeth is riding, Redath are riding. Just to show you that E and thorn and A and thorn gives you this difference in meaning. Both verbs, and the difference is riding as opposed to are riding. Next one, rule number 2, demonstratives, the, this, that, and so on. Adjectives and nouns agree with each other in case, number, and gender. So, after fam yadurunk, after the drinking. Tham is the, and drunk is a noun, and both are in the dative. The case is dative, singular, and neuter. So that means because they agree with each other grammatically, they are related to each other in terms of translating this and connecting meanings. So after the drinking. Over here, after tham hevjan yedrunk, after the heavy drinking. After the heavy drinking. Notice these three words here, the, heavy, drinking, are in the dative case, singular in number, and neuter. Okay, so case number and, case number and gender, neuter. So, and down the bottom here, one more example. After hevyum yedrunk. Now again, after heavy drinking, and notice the difference here, there's no demonstrative in front of this. And so this is a strong adjective and a weak adjective. And we'll talk about that over the next page. Notice the difference. Hevyum here, hevyan. Okay, yedrunk is drinking. Alright, so, and talk about that in a minute, but have a look here, this a sentence or part of a sentence here, this clause, mid fullum wastme and herven likere sanoternuse, with full result and heavenly wisdom. Now, let's pull this apart. Notice the fullum wastme, full result, is connected in meaning, connected grammatically, because both words are in the dative, singular and masculine, and so they are both connected in grammatical meaning and must be interpreted that way. So, with full result. And then over here, herven likere sanoternuse is in the dative case, singular number, feminine gender. And so those two are connected together. They go together. They have grammatical meaning. Hence, they agree with each other. There's concord between them, and so they must be interpreted in that light. So in this case, heavenly wisdom. So with full result and heavenly wisdom. Alright, now just coming back to adjectives before. Weak adjectives require a demonstrative be placed before them, e.g. after tham hevyan yedrunk. Now hevyan is a weak adjective because it requires a demonstrative tham placed in front. Whereas a strong adjective do not require a demonstrative to be placed in front of them. So you have after hevyum yedrunk. Notice there's no tham in front. And so this is a strong adjective, hevyum. Now, herven likere is in the class of strong adjectives because there's no, up here, there's no tham in front of it. Okay, so it's a strong adjective. Next one. Number 3, pronouns and their antecedent, nouns, must agree in number and gender. Here's a really good example. Seo suna gath betux hervanan and erthan on tha helva the heo shinth thar bithdaya and on tha helva the heo nershinth the thar bithnicht. So what we have here is the sun goes between heaven and earth. Seo suna gath betux hervanan and erthan. Sorry, can I just say it again? Seo suna gath betux hervanan and erthan. Alright, so the sun goes between heaven and earth. On tha helva the heo shinth thar bithdaya. And on tha helva the heo nershinth thar bithnicht. So on the side where it shines, there is day. And on the side where it does not shine, there is night. And notice here in modern English, we refer to the sun as it, as neuter, it. In Old English, suna was a feminine noun. And so whenever we needed a pronoun, when referring to it, other than using the word suna, in Old English, we had to refer to it by the pronoun heo, she. Okay, so, and it's the rules of Concord actually require that. It's not that we're saying the sun is somehow female or something and it's a she. Just the fact that in Old English nouns were masculine, feminine or neuter, and so falling into those, they had a gender, and so the pronouns referring to them had to have the same gender as well, according to this grammatical rule. It's not that we're saying the sun is somehow feminine or something. We're simply following by the rules of Concord or grammatical agreement for Old English. The pronouns referring back to the sun must be in the feminine. So, whereas in modern English we translate it as it, in Old English it had the feminine pronoun heo had to be used. Right. Next one, rule number 4, nouns and all their modifiers, that's demonstratives, that, this, and so on, pronouns and adjectives must agree in case, number, and gender. So let's have a look at this one. At his sulves harness, at his own home. Now notice here, his sulves harness are all in the genitive, singular, masculine. And because they have this grammatical agreement, that gives them grammatical meaning, and it must be interpreted in that sense. It must be interpreted in that way because grammatically they are connected to each other. They are conveying meaning. Now in this case, it's probably even to a modern English eye, you can see at his sulves harness, at his own home. You can probably guess that. All of us, all of us, is in the genitive, plural and masculine. Both words are in the genitive, plural and masculine. They are conveying meaning by doing so. And us, our, all of us, all us, or us all, so all of us. Thus eerdichan apostolos, the blessed apostle. Thus eerdichan apostolos. All three words are grammatically connected and must be translated. They're connected to each other, and the grammar says they are conveying meaning through that concord, and that all three words are in the genitive, singular, and masculine. Thus eerdichan apostolos, the blessed apostle. Alright, ich radan thas beach. I read these books. Notice thas beach. Beach is a noun, and the modifier in front of it, the demonstrative thas, they agree with each other because it's these books, and they're in the nominative, plural and feminine. So that goes together. They're conveying together. They're conveying meaning because there's concord between the two words. There's grammatical agreement between the two words. So they're conveying meaning. Thas beach. These books. And we know that because the case is nominative, the number is plural, and the gender is feminine. Going over here, ich radan, singular first person. They go together. I read these books. Next one. Ich reorde thas beach. I have read these books. Or we could say, ich read thas beach. I have read these books. How do we know it's have there? And how do we know to put the word have into the modern English translation of this Old English phrase here? And we know that because reorde or read are in the past tense. Singular first person, they agree that way, but they're in the past tense. And so I read these books, but in a past tense way. So in modern English, we render that as I have read these books. And again, thas beach, nominative, plural, feminine, those two words grammatically agree with each other. They are conveying meaning, in this case, these books. Beach, plural, and nominative, feminine. So nominative being the subject of the clause or the statement here. Let's have a look at another one now. Ich höre Wort und ihr mir hear. I hear the words and obey them. I hear words, this is in the plural actually, und ihr mir hear. How do I know Wort is plural and not singular? Because the singular, the word is also Wort. Well, this here grammatically agrees with this here, and this is plural. Plural here is plural. And neuter. This is neuter. This is also in the accusative. War is in the accusative. Here is in the accusative, but here is plural. So that means we must want the plural version of ward. And so we have this is plural, this is plural. So we have words, not word. And ich here, yeme. Now, their three words are grammatically connected because they're in the singular and first person. So they're conveying meaning. I hear, obey. Or I hear and obey. Well, what am I hearing and obeying? These words. Not singular, but words. So I'm reading something and obeying it. Clearly it's a religious text that's being referred to. Ich here war on year me here. Here. So the last one is here. Alright, next one. Now, that Jurid was raden befahren tham Kuninge. Okay, the letter was read in front of the king. So that Jurid was raden befahren tham Kuninge. And have a look here. Tham Kuninge. Well, there's grammatical agreement here in the dative, singular and masculine. Both words in the dative, singular and masculine. So the king is how we can interpret that. Here, you were it was. The letter was. So those two agree with each other grammatically. They are communicating some information in that way. You were it, letter, was, and front of the king. So that letter was, looks like read before the king. So the letter was read in front of the king, before in front of the king. Alright. Let's take another phrase you often see if you look through Old English texts, and it can be a little bit confusing. How do we decipher something like this? Look at it. Heo here sulva to theo wena yenemde. Well, I mean, look at that. Heo, she, here, they, sulva, probably herself. To, with conjunction, towards in this case. Theowena, female servant, slave. Theowena, yenemde, handmaiden, servant. Yenemde, well, that looks like named. And this one here looks like female servant. Oh, let's go and have a look. So how can we use these guiding rules? Well, let's have a look here. Theowena, well, that looks like the noun, and it is. Singular, third person noun. And that grammatically agrees with, or there's concordance with, yenemde. Now, yenemde means named. G.E meaning named. Yenemde. So, servant, girl, named. And it also means, yenemde can also mean nominated. So the servant girl here, named or nominated. Okay, so here we go. If we do a literal translation, it's she, hail, she, here, they, sulva, herself, to, towards, theowena, female servant, yenemde is named or nominated. But so what does that mean? We've done a literal translation, but how does that help us? So let's just have a look a little bit further and see if there's any more grammatical agreement which will help us tease out the meaning. So let's go over here. So again with theowena, yenemde, so we've sorted that one out, third person singular, so they both go together and agree with each other. And what we notice here is when we check these, the case and the number and the gender, we get heo, here, sulva, agreeing with the noun, theowena. This is rule number 4. So, heo is in the accusative, here is also in the accusative, sulva is also in the accusative, and also theowena is in the accusative. So they're connected with each other. Don't worry about the conjunction here because it's just to or towards or going or achieving, or the end result is this theowena. Alright, so she, they, herself. So she, now this part here is in the accusative, it's not the subject, or it's not in the nominative, and so this tells you it's something that she's done. Alright, she, the servant girl has been named, and she herself suggests that she's named herself or nominated herself or put herself forward to them here, because why them sounds like separate from her, but the fact is there's grammatical agreement here, so it's something that she's doing because it grammatically agrees with her and herself, or she and herself, and what she is, servant girl. So it's something she's doing. So we could say, well, okay, she nominated herself to be their servant girl. All right? She nominated herself to be their servant girl. He o hia sulva, to theo wene yenemde. All right.